Okay, hello. Welcome to the Cold War Prepper, and this is Tuesday evening. That means that we're here for the Nonfiction Book Club. We're still reading. Let me put my Bible up. We're still reading Nuclear War Survival Skills. Tonight we're doing chapters 10 and 11. So chapter 10 is going to be nuclear radiation devices, and chapter 11 is going to be lighting in a totally pitch dark bunker environment. So that's going to be kind of exciting. I got a couple things that aren't mentioned in the book, but and I'll show those to you. I've got them tabbed up, ready to go, so that I can share those with you as well, show you what they are. I've got some links that I'll be putting both on the screen as far as a banner if you agree that these are good ideas, and then if not, then I'll have them in the show notes afterwards. So all that'll be available to you. Somebody asked the question about and I forget who. I'm so sorry, about air filtration in a bunker and where can they get some. So I did a lot of research. I couldn't find anything that was basically available. So I got a hold of Atlas Survival Shelters, and now his name, I forget his name. He gave us a tour, the Texas Preparedness Group. He gave us a tour of his facility. Really great guy, really great business. And so I sent him an email to his personal email, and he said, yes, they have all kinds of air filtration systems designed and built by the Swiss, by the way, for their bunkers in the Alps. And I have a feeling those are probably going to be a little bit expensive, but he doesn't put anything that's shoddy in his bunkers. He is one of the very few that I think that if he offers a post-apocalyptic warranty, he'll honor it. That you can get a hold of him, and he'll probably get it back. So let me see who else we've got here. Oh, Cats and Prepping just showed up, and we've got Sumi is in, and Little Lone Prepper. Golly, all kinds of fantastic people. Well, I'm really kind of excited. Two things have happened here in the last couple of days. I'll share those with you before we get into the book itself. Number one, I received a present in the mail. I've got it right here. There it is. From my friend Maggie. And you'll see Maggie on here every once in a while. And she's in Florida, and she has her little prepper group there. We communicate quite a bit. She was, when I owned my store, she was a very, very big donor. Hello, David. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to shut your live off. I hope I didn't do that. But thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate that. So if I can get one of my moderators to put David Lynn's link up so that we can get people to his. He does at 7 o'clock live every evening at 7 p.m. But Maggie sent me this fantastic book. And I've been telling her I want to have somebody who knows a whole bunch about herbal medicine come on and talk about herbal medicine. I think that's going to be herbal and homeopathic medicine are going to be extremely important to us. And in a post-apocalyptic world when we don't have the pharmaceuticals available to us that we have now. So I would really, really like to have somebody who's really knowledgeable about that come on the show and talk to us about homeopathic medicine and especially herbalistic medicine, tinctures, what do they call them? When they purify the oils, essential oils. Yeah, somebody who's really good on essential oils. If I could get somebody like that on the show, man, I would be so happy. I want to learn that. I really want to learn from an expert. So I think most of you would probably want to learn that as well. So first off, she sent me that. And then second off, she and I were talking, and she said, Lee, for your book after this one, you need to get this one and discuss it. So this is The Great Depression, a diary. So I ordered it. I'm reading it now to see whether or not it's going to be appropriate for us to use as a follow-up to what we're doing now with nuclear war survival skills. There is another one that I would like to do. Maybe I might do it first and then do The Great Depression, but I'm really jazzed up about Jonathan what's his name? Hollerman's book. And he presented this to Congress, as a matter of fact, The Grid Down, Death of a Nation, where he's talking about what's going to happen all the psychological, physiological things that are going to happen to our country as a result of a grid down. And that's that presentation to Congress. It said that 90% of us will die within a year after an EMP or CME. So I would really like to talk about that one. And what I like most about that one is you can get the PDF online for free. So I think that would give all of you another great resource for free that you could add to your prepping library. And so that'll give you a little bit of a break from having to buy books or anything like that. So I'm thinking about let's do this one next, so you can have a free book, at least in PDF format, in your library that you can use, and then we can go from there. Okay, all that out of the way, let's get into this phenomenal book by Preston Kearney. I tell you, if you remember, I got the original version when I was at Field Station Augsburg, and I arrived at Field Station Augsburg Thanksgiving Day, 1977, and then I departed the day after Thanksgiving, 1980. So sometime in that 3-year period is when I bought the original, the brown cover of this one, and read it. Of course, we had an ANFLR HF-DF intercept antenna at Field Station Augsburg. So if you go to if you look up Field Station Augsburg, it'll show you a big photograph of that 7-acre antenna. And there were 7 of those around the world, and we get DF-HF signals, plus or minus a kilometer. So that was really neat. But so we thought we were ground zero for a nuclear attack for sure. That we called the elephant cage the target for the Soviets. And so, nuclear war survival skills were extremely important to us. So I bought that then, highlighted it, tabbed it like you would not believe. Now that I have the new edition, this one's even better. They've got so many great additions to it. Just absolutely love the book. So if you don't have it in your library, please get a copy and add it to your library. Like I said, even though I've read it before, I'm just highlighting away on this one. Haven't tabbed it like I did the other one, but I am highlighting away. And I'm only using one color this time, which is kind of amazing. So let's go ahead and get into Chapter 10, Fallout Radiation Meters. So on page 95, no U.S. government agency or other government facility advises the public regarding sources of the best available radiation measuring instruments for use in time of war, or warns concerned individuals that certain instruments are either incapable of measuring adequately high dose rates or doses of wartime use, or are dangerously inaccurate. So basically the warning there is there's a lot of commercial producers out there. There is no governing agency that says if you're going to produce a radiation detector, a dosimeter, a Geiger counter, nobody says these are the standards you must adhere to in order to sell it to the open market. So that's a problem, as far as quality control. Caveat emptor, buyer beware. Instruments that measure only milliröntgen dosage rates are sold for war use by some companies. So a milliröntgen is 1/1000th of a Röntgen. Now remember, we talked about this back on Chapter 1 when we had the rule of 3, 4, and 25, I think it is. 3, 25, and 100. So if you are getting 3 rads per day, you can get terminally ill. If you get 25 rads from any one event, that can be a terminal event. And once you hit 100 rads total absorption, you're a goner. Okay. So if you're measuring in millirads, and the highest it can get is 3, let's say 1,000 millirads, which is 1 rad, and it's peaked out, you don't know if you're exceeding that 325 or 100. All you know is you're at the 1 point. So you need to have a dose rate that's going to give you an idea of what you're absorbing on an hourly rate. So it has to be at a higher rate than millirads. It has to be in rads per hour. So that's why I have 2, okay? I have this one that measures up to 4 rads. So this is from 1 millirad or 1/1000th of a rad up to 4 rads. And then I have this one, and this one goes from 1 rad to 400 rads. Okay, so I've got 2 different meters, and they measure different amounts of radiation that come out. So I'll put those links up here on the. No, I didn't put those links on there. I'll put those links in the show notes. Okay. I think almost everything I put links for is lighting in the dark bunker. Now, the next thing you need to consider is you need to have a dosimeter, and I had mine out. And what did I do? Oh, here it is. So you need a dosimeter. So a dosimeter basically has a little hole in it, right here up top, so you can put it and you can wear it. And what this does is, as you absorb radiation, it changes the colors on the different bars here, so that you can determine how much total absorption your body has had, so that if you are up, let's say, to the 4 rad or the 6 rad area or somewhere like that, you know you have to stay somewhere safe. You don't want to go out and get any more exposure. So this is a point in time. This is a point in time. Both of these are point in time in a specific area. And so this one, however, is dosage over time. It's a cumulative measurement of how much radiation you have had. So, if you can only have one, get this one. Now, if I can get somebody, let me see, is Little Lone Prepper in here? David Lynn can do it as well. I think he's a moderator as well. If somebody would post the link for ki4u.com, ki4u.com, when they closed down all of our nuclear bunkers during the Reagan administration, during and after the Reagan administration, they took all of those Geiger counters and all of those survey meters that there were throughout the United States. He even talks about it in here. Let me get to that here. Okay, so the best radiation measuring instrument for wartime use available in the U.S. is the Universal Survey Meter RD10, made by Finland. Other good ones, except for the RD, after the RD10 would be very close to natural background radiation, up to 300 rads per hour in 2 ranges. So range 1 is from 0.03 to 300 millirads per hour. I mean, 0.03 millirads. So that's basically a gigarad. And then from 0.03 up to 300 rads per hour. Now, remember, if you're exposed to 300 rads per hour and you're only in it for 1 minute, then your total cumulative dosage on this is going to be 1/60th of 300, or 5 rads. Okay, so that's how that works. When you're talking about these, they measure it in per hour, and this is total cumulative. So if it says 300 and you're there 1 minute, that's 1 minute is 1/60th of an hour. So 1/60th of 300 is 5 rads. Okay. Then they had the PDRM2, and let me see here. Then the rest of the chapter where he's talking about radiation meters is he's basically telling you how you can make a homemade for around $30. Get the materials and you can make your own home radiation meter. Okay, so he calls it a KFM, and so that's his Kearney fallout meter, and but it costs about $20 to $30 to make it on your own. At the time of the original printing of the book, it was $17. That's 1980-ish. So now we're talking probably double that, $36, $40. But it gives you all the instructions on how to build and calibrate your own radiation meter at home. And that's going to be from 30 millirads per hour, or 0.03 rads, up to 43 rads. So that's the range you really need anyway. So that's going to be really great. So if you have the book, okay, both here as well as in the appendix, it gives you everything you need to build your own KFM. Okay. No cats in prepping. I have not made one, and I don't know anybody who has. I'm a lazy son of a gun. Okay. I have this thing when I first got to NSA in 1972. I was working at NSA, and I had quarters on Fort Meade, and my upstairs neighbor in post quarters was a helicopter mechanic. and he had a 1968 Chevy Malibu, and it was a 327, and it was gorgeous. He had two of them. I bought one of them. Gorgeous. And he says, "Okay, Lee, we got to teach you how to change a carburetor, how to adjust a carburetor, how to clean it, how to repair it, how to replace it, and all that kinds of stuff." So I went out and bought a carburetor repair kit on my 19. What he sold me the 69, and he kept the 67. So I had a 1969 green, sea green Chevy Bel Air Malibu, and with a 327 engine in it. I rebuilt the carburetor, turned on the ignition, and the engine caught on fire. I left out one little bolt. So I found out at that time that there are certain things that I'm good at. Code breaking is one of them. Translating is one of them. Mechanics is not one of them. So I have a tendency to stay away from mechanics. And if I have the money, I buy things pre-made so that because I just mechanically, electrically, plumbing wise, I'm a total failure. I have to admit that. So I apologize. I wish I could do it. I wish I could say I did it. Maybe I need a little bit more self-confidence, and I might try it and see how I could do. But anyhow, that's kind of where we are as far as radiation meters and all that kinds of stuff. Remember, there's 3. And so the one, if you can only afford one, and they only cost, if you go to ki4u.com, www.ki4u. Thank you, Little Lone Prepper. So we've got right here. If you can go to this website here, come on, show. Go to that website. You can get these. You can also get the old calibrated, highly accurate U.S.-made Department of Defense and Civil Defense made radiation meters. They've got a package for $1,000. You get the outside, the inside. You get a copy of this book. You get some radiation. You get some dosimeters. You get all kinds of great stuff. You get a calibration machine. Really great program. I just can't afford $1,000 to be honest with you. But so that's why I buy these things when I can on Amazon, where I can use the Amazon link and pay it off using their finance system over time. Okay. Wow. Got an awful lot accomplished there in 15, 20 minutes. I hope I didn't talk too fast. I get excited about this stuff, can you tell? Okay, so Princess Kicking Butt says, I've been looking for a few items. I usually don't click websites, but I feel if Lee trusts you, then I can as well. Yes, so that KI4U is a very good website to go ahead and check into. They're right here in Texas, as a matter of fact. He's only about a 2-hour drive from here, and have had a couple chats with him. Really love what they're doing. There was a while there, right during the time when Ukraine and Russia started having their little disagreement, that he could not keep up with demand. I don't know what he has left as far as inventory. I haven't talked to him since the conflagration began, but he was getting kind of short of product. Okay, now let's get into light. So there's one of those quotations of the obvious that I have highlighted. I just think it's one of the best quotations I've seen in a while, and it says, "Conclusion: in a crisis, it is especially bad not to be able to see it all." So, and the assumption here is that we're in a bunker. So if you're in a bunker, of course, it's totally sealed off from radioactive fallout. It's sealed so you don't have any radioactive fallout dust coming in. It's coming in through an air filtration system. So you don't have any light coming in at all. Probably the darkest I have ever been in my life was at Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico. So you're down about a half a mile down into the ground in these caverns. You've walked about 5 miles to get there. And then they save you and they bring you up by the elevator. But at one point during this thing, they just turn the lights off and let you enjoy 100% total darkness for about 30 seconds. It is not a pleasant experience. I mean, you cannot see anything. So I can imagine they talk in here about an experiment that the civil defense people did, and people were going crazy after just 3 days of no light whatsoever. And basically were fighting to get out of the confinement center that they were in because they couldn't find their food. They didn't know what they were eating, what they were drinking. They couldn't couldn't find the bathroom. I mean, they were just totally out of it. So light becomes an extremely important thing when you're cramped inside of a shelter and there's no light available to you. So some of the things that he recommends. So a low amperage light bulb used with a large dry cell battery or a car battery is an excellent source of low-level continuous light. One of the small 12-volt bulbs in the instrument panels of cars with 12-volt batteries will give enough light for 10 to 15 nights. Now, I have a problem with this definition of 10 to 15 nights because when you're in a shelter, in a bunker, you don't know the difference between night and day. So 10 to 15 nights, to me, is going to be somewhere around 5 to 10 days because we have to take a look at all three of those cycles. You know, a night, typically darkness is going to be anywhere from 8 to 12 hours at our latitude. When I was in Germany, during the summer, we only had 4 hours of darkness, and during the winter, we only had 4 hours of light. So, it varies, but I'm assuming that he's saying for one night being about 8 to 10 hours of darkness. And if that's the case, if you're in a dark environment, you've got to double or triple that as far as your demand on electricity for light bulbs. Then there's an insert into the original book, and it's called "You're Too Stupid to Use a Candle." And so he talks about the DHS, FEMA, a lot of the other governmental agencies that warn you about using candles. So you can use a candle. I have candles. I have planned on using candles. Just you have to take some precautions. Number one, you don't want to put the candle at your air intake. You want your candle close to where your air exhaust is going to be. So where the air is going out. Yes, you're not going to have as much oxygen available for that flame. However, any obnoxious fumes that are going to be produced will be blown out instead of being sucked in with the good air and mixed in, and then you breathe it and then it goes out. The closer you can have any burning material to your exhaust port, the better off you're going to be. Okay. So he talks about that. He gets off the topic here on page 3 of this insert into the book, right before page 101, and kind of debunks the entire 72-hour kit. As a matter of fact, it leads me to believe he's probably here in this area because he talks about our 2021. Here we call it Ice-mageddon, and that was in February when we had the ice storm that shut everything down. And I was fairly well off. A lot of my neighbors weren't, and I ended up giving a lot of stuff away. I tried to use that to get more people to join our little group, and it didn't work. Once the threat was passed and they had my stuff and they knew I was willing to give it, then that kind of ended their interest in anything as far as preparing for another one. And from what they're saying right now is that with the La Nina, that we're probably going to have a worse storm coming in the next 6 months than what we have ever seen in the past. So, we need to get ready for that. But he says, but over 1,000 people died in Ice-mageddon in Texas in 2021 when they had the Great Freeze. So he says, you do not need a 3-day kit. You need a good week's kit. Plus, and I mean a good solid week of food and water. And they recommend a minimum of a gallon of water per day. And I say that depends. If you're using freeze-dried or dehydrated food, you need to add more water to that. I don't think that the gallon of water includes enough for sanitation. And you also have to take into consideration any needs you have for pets. So, I want to say you need a lot more than a gallon of water per day per person. I want to say at least a gallon and a half, possibly even 2 gallons. Then he says, I would suggest that you have a solid month of food and water and medicine and sanitary supplies and everything else that you need. I don't mean you can get by for a month. I mean, you need to do well for a month, which means that if you're going to do well for a month, this means you really need to have 6 weeks of supplies instead of just 4 weeks of supplies. So he's a very strong advocate for having as much as possible in your home. So let's talk about power. When I was younger and first got into this in 1962 during the Cuban Missile Crisis, we had a hand crank, okay? And we have to understand a little bit about electricity. There's direct current and there's alternating current. So when you have a generator, like a gas generator, it typically is going to be rotating at a certain speed. When it rotates at a certain speed, you're going to have alternating current because those brushes are going to be at different things. We turn at 60 rotations per minute in the US. In Europe, they do 50 rotations per minute, which is why we say we have 60 cycle power, they have 50 cycle power. That's alternating current. That's usually going to be somewhere 110, 120, 220 to 240, that volt. And so that's going to be our alternating current. On the other hand, if you have a battery, that's going to be direct current. And the same thing with what you have as far as your cell phone or anything else, battery operated radios or anything like that, flashlights, that's all direct current. So we need to understand the difference between the two, because when you have a battery operated alternating current generator, you need to have a transformer basically, and most of them are built in so that you can plug in your DC operated thing and recharge it. Okay, so it has an inverter in it that changes it from alternating current to direct current. So that 12-volt battery can power LEDs for quite a while from your car. That's direct current. Now, you can also get power pads, okay? So this one is let me get here, share screen. Great group, isn't it, Sumi? Great group. Okay, let me see here. Share screen, there we go. And we're going to go to the portable charger right there. Okay, so this, I have both black and white. So this is a 50,000 milliamp hour power bank. And so basically what we're doing is, come on, let me get rid of this stuff up here so I can see what's going on. There we go. Where's my, should be over here. Nope. There we go. Where's share screen? I don't see share screen. Doggone it. Let me try that again. Share screen, present, share screen, share screen, portable charger, share, view tab. There we go. Okay, so here we go. So this is a 50,000 milliamp hour power bank. Okay, so if you take 50,000 milliamps, that's 50 amps of power. And so it's basically 30 watts. And so you're going to have additional power for your DC stuff here. I have two of them. So this is going to basically give extra power to a cell phone, to a radio, to a rechargeable flashlight. As a matter of fact, I recommend that you get, and I have O lights. So let me get rid of this. And I will put that link up there for you. I am in the habit now of all of my batteries, all of my flashlights that I buy. This is O-Light. I'm sorry, no, this is a Nebo. This is a Nebo Inspector. Torchy, I'm sorry, Nebo Torchy. And all of my flashlights that I'm buying now are basically have a USB charger. So it magnetically fits here. The other end plugs into a USB charger, and then I can keep all my flashlights charged through a USB charger. I think that's going to work a lot better than having batteries. Okay. So that's one thing that I do. Now, the other thing that you might want to do, and I have this one tabbed up ready to go too, is you can get yourself a hand crank radio. And so I have about 4 of these in different places throughout the house. One in my Faraday bag, one in my Faraday pouch, one in my get home bag, and one in my bug out bag. So, got these all over the place. Let me give you this one, and then I'll show you something about it. Okay, so the nice thing about this is it's got this little hand crank here on the side, and you don't see it here. It's also got the solar here that you see on top. So it can be solar powered. You can stick it out in the sun and that'll power it. You can plug it into the wall. That'll power it. You can use a AA battery. That will power it. Or you can crank it, and that produces the electricity. Now, when you crank it, it also has, back in the back, it has these nice little USB ports, so that as you're cranking it, you can basically recharge your flashlight or recharge your cell phone or anything else. So this produces enough electricity where it can also be a recharger for any of those direct current items that you might have that you want to recharge, if you're in a totally dark environment. Okay. So the next one is, he says that he gets upset and he says, I'm FEMA and all these people are upset. They don't want you, they don't trust you with candles. Like I said, keep the candles close to your exit, your exhaust for your air. You're going to have an overpressure. You're going to bring a lot of air pressure in through your intake, filtered. Then your exit on your bunker is going to be where the air goes out. That's where you want to have anything that's burning a flame. This is a fantastic thing. I'll have a link for it down in the notes below. This is a 115-hour candle. Okay, so I bought 10 of these. Okay, so 115 hours is 1,150 hours. Now divide 1,150 hours by 24 hours in a day. I've got more than 2 weeks in a bunker's worth of light just from these liquid paraffin candles. Okay, so this one itself, as a 115-hour, is basically a 4-day and 4 2/3 days of candle right here, just with this one jar. Okay, if you can keep it lit and keep the oxygen there. Some of my other favorites that I like, and I've got 2 different candles. This is the Uko candle. Okay, in this one I have a beeswax candle, and the beeswax burns for 12 hours. And in this one, the candelier, it's a 3-candle system. I have the paraffin candles, and the paraffin candles burn for 9 hours. So, these are basically some of those other alternatives for lighting that you can consider. You can get yourself some of those 12-volt DC lighting strips. You can get the Christmas lights and things like that. All that would be fantastic for lighting what you need to do for your shelter. In the book, okay, on page 102, he gives a fantastic explanation, and you can do the same thing with a can of Crisco, but you can take any vegetable oil, and he shows you how to build a long-term burning candle using vegetable oil in basically a glass jar. And you can do the same thing. You can stick a wick down inside of a can of Crisco. That's going to burn for a long time as well. All those are fantastic ideas on what you can do for light in a bad environment. At the dollar store, and I buy them all the time, and I will tell you my problem with them is because I just replaced one. I have, so I'm a member of Divine Mercy, and we meet every Friday morning at 9 o'clock, and we meet from 9 to 10:30 every single Friday. And we burn 2 candles while we're getting together and praying for peace. And so those candles, those religious candles that we get at the dollar stores, they usually only burn about halfway down. And then you have problems with wax and wick, and it's not that great. So what I end up doing is we'll burn them halfway down. I'll bring it home. I'll put it into a double boiler, melt the wax, put it into a new container so that there's more air flow into it, so that there's more capability for it, and then we can burn them. Part of the problem is those tall glass candles, as far as the carbon dioxide that it puts out, stifles the input of oxygen. You don't get enough burn flame, so you aren't using up all of the wax, and then you burn up your wick and you can't keep the wax in it. You have to reuse it, basically, remelt it and reuse it. So don't get the Dollar General type of religious candles. He even mentions this in his book. And he says, go to a Catholic store because all of the candles we sell at Catholic stores are at least 80% beeswax. And they're also very well measured for long duration candles. Now, they do have some emergency candles. They have 12-hour packages, 6 12-hour candles. You can get those. They're called emergency candles. You can get those at any dollar store. You can get them at Walmart. I know for sure. I think Target has them. I try to pick up one of those at least once a month. Then you can get the votive candles, the small glass jars. Those usually burn for about 6 to 9 hours. Then you can also get the little bitty ones. What are those called? Anyhow, you know what I'm talking about. You get about 50 of them in a package, and they're usually $1 or $2 for a package of 50. And they're little bitty things. They only burn for an hour or two. But anyhow, consider candles as part of your lighting system. And then you should be very happy with that. Let me get up here and catch up with because that's basically it. That's it for the evening. Let me go through some of these banners that I have. And let's catch up with your comments and see where we are. Okay, so Sumi acknowledges KI for you as good people. She's also been to Carlsbad Caverns. That's amazing. And if you go at the right time, you can be there when the bats fly out. I mean, they'll darken the sky. It's right at dusk, and they will darken the sky flying out. There's so many bats, Mexican snub-nosed bats there. So Cats and Prepping was asking about the Crisco candles. I hope I answered that. I have not made one. I have not used one. But yes, I agree. Everything I've heard is they do work, and that they work for a long time, and that they are worth the effort. Now, here's my opinion. I'm not one. I believe right now, in the situation that we're in, if you have the opportunity to get a 115-hour candle that is smaller, safer, and more assured to work than a Crisco candle, go for the better quality item now and have that Crisco candle idea in the back of your mind as an emergency backup should you run out of the good stuff. Okay. So I don't plan on using the backups as primary. I plan on getting good stuff as primary and then having stuff like a Crisco candle as a secondary, if that makes sense to you. So yes, and one of the things that I do, and I've talked about this in a couple of videos, I call it the Boy Scout stove. So I take a side opening can opener when I open my tuna cans. Well, that's all we have here is side opening can openers, except for my P38s and P51s and things like that. But that way, when you close it, it seals back on top. You don't have a flopping thing. You have a total seal, basically, when you can close it up. Measure cardboard so that the corrugation of the cardboard is running up and down, and cut it, and then roll it and place it inside that tuna can. Melt some paraffin. And then once you melt the paraffin, fill up that tuna can with melted paraffin so that it gets absorbed into the cardboard. What you're doing is you're using the cardboard as a wick. And then that paraffin, and so that produces a fairly big flame. And I use that for cooking. And we used it camping and cooking Boy Scouts. That's what I took with me because we weren't allowed to have open fires at Philmont Scout Ranch back in the late 60s. So I've been doing that since 1960. Yeah, the sterno cans would work as well, but make sure you get the ones that are safe for indoor use. And, because they do have two. One of them burns hotter and it produces carbon monoxide. The other one burns a little bit, not quite as hot, but it has less carbon monoxide output than the other one. So you want to make sure it says safe on it. Let me check this. I think this shows it. Yeah. So this one on the side, this is the sterno green. Okay. So on the side, it says right here that it is safe for outdoor cooking. It's safe for home entertaining, and it's also good for emergencies. So you'll make sure that it says it's safe for indoor use before you use it indoor. I would hate for you to have something producing carbon monoxide. And remember, whenever you have a flame, always also have at around waist level a carbon monoxide detector. So you always want to have a carbon monoxide detector and a smoke detector and a fire extinguisher. Okay. Little Lone Prepper says that a 12-volt battery can off-gas dangerous fumes or explode. They would need to be in a battery case and vented. The closed cell type is safer. Thank you. I absolutely agree, and I'm embarrassed I didn't think of that myself. Thank you very much for sharing that. We greatly appreciate it. Yes, they do. They do expire 1 year after you buy them, or after the date that's certified on them, and you need to refresh those on a regular basis. You can get them on Amazon. They're slightly more expensive, but you can get them and finance them and have them delivered for free. There's no shipping charge. So either KI4U or Amazon for the Rad Triage or dosimeters. If I'm not mistaken, KI4U also has the old ones that look like pencil pins. You can look inside, and it's got a little fluctuating meter on the inside. So it's basically an ion tube, and it measures the amount of radiation that you've absorbed. Great idea. As a matter of fact, Sumi, I am getting to the point now to where I prefer headlamps over flashlights. The last two that I bought have actually been headlamps, and they have been USB rechargeables. And just frees your hands up so you can do things. Actually, the last three that I bought two headlamps, and I bought one that's is it here or is it in the bedroom? I bought one that you basically slide it up and it becomes, here it is. So basically what happens is it becomes an area lamp. Okay. So, I can set this down and it becomes an area lamp, or I can press the button and it becomes a flashlight. So, that's kind of one of the things that I like. Can you tell I like to keep my prepping stuff close to me? I'm kind of a paranoid guy that way. I don't know. I don't know that much about those batteries, so I'm going to take your word at it, okay? But thank you for sharing that. Thank you for that information. I greatly appreciate it. No, I haven't tried to, and that's something I probably need to do. I have no idea how long it would take. Now, I can tell you what I have done. Where did it go? I have recharged my phone with my power bank, and it took about an hour to recharge an iPhone 12 off the power bank, and it consumed about 1/5 of the power that was on the power bank. Okay. So, so let's talk about two different things, because we have two different questions here. NOAA is the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric NOAA, National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. So they are the ones that put out the weather alerts, and they're usually going to be done either on AM VHF, HF-VHF, or they're going to be on UHF, VHF FM frequencies. So that's going to typically be in the hundreds. Okay, so and then when you're talking about shortwave is going to usually be HF. It can be low frequency to high frequency, to medium frequency in between. So typically shortwave is going to be anything that's going to be below 30 megahertz, and NOAA is going to be transmitting above 30 megahertz. Typically. Okay. Now, the lower the frequency, okay. So once you get into HF, remember I told you about that big antenna we had at Field Station Augsburg for intercepting Soviet communications. The lower the frequency, the bigger the antenna has to be in order to receive that. So, for example, our submarines transmit and receive on very low frequency. They trail an antenna for a mile behind them in the water. and that's the antenna they use for very low frequency. Now, if you take a look at a police car, they're using UHF, ultra high frequency, and they have these little blade antennas on their cars. And so the higher the frequency, the shorter the antenna. Yeah, I don't think they will be. I think that's a good analysis on your part. I think that they probably will say, we don't want you to have those here for fear of fire, you know. And I would say that, you know, if you can figure out a way to have, and David Lim was just talking about this on his live an hour ago, but he was talking about solar chargers and a good solar charger. I think he said Blue Eddy. What was it you were talking about that you said you liked, David? I think it was Blue Eddy. But anyhow, if we're talking in a nuclear environment, if you can find a way to have a solar panel outside and then run the wire inside so that you can keep your things charged on the inside, that would be phenomenal. But you just have to make sure you have that connection between the outside solar charging panel and your inside battery inverter converter battery storage. If you find it, let us know so we can so you can share that out and we can all get the same thing. Yeah, so the Crisco can is what we're talking about as far as the candle. You can stick a wick in it, and as a matter of fact, I just went. I've got this set over here for my weekly haul, but I went today and got another pack of 24 wicks. You know, so that I can continue to melt down those other candles and make them into viable candles after that. So that would be so great, except for hamster poop and hamster feeding and all that kinds of stuff, you know. But that's basically straight kitten. That's basically the same idea we had with those pedals. Now and I was going to try to find them before we came on tonight and give you a link to that. But the pedals that Lloyd had in his bunker in his backyard back in 1962, we could either set it up on a counter, and he had a little slide in thing where you could slide it in and put a bolt in the table, and you could do it with your hands, or you could take that off and slide it into another bracket that he had built down on the floor, put pedals on it and pedal it like a bicycle. And so the way we were thinking back then was that everybody would ride for a half an hour. So, you know, I would ride for a half hour, but the whole thing was it had two purposes. It was going to power two things. It was going to power the air intake system, okay, that sucked the air in, the fan that sucked the air in through the air filter. And then it was going to power one small light in the corner. And that light was basically in the area of the commode, our porta potty. But, you know, and that also kind of gave a little bit of light where you could cook in that area. But when you cooked, you were going to be using a flame anyway. So that was in a different corner, and that would provide a little bit more light. Well, thank you, Willie Jelly. I greatly appreciate that. Tea lights. Thank you, Sumi. That's the one I was thinking of that burns for 1 to 2 hours. Those little bitty tea lights. Thank you for sharing that. You're great. Let me see here. Got to find the right sweet spot here to get this to scroll down so I can see what people are saying. So Theoxerus says that a long time ago he scooped up an old grinding wheel that he thought might be useful if I have time to MacGyver a generator someday. Our second career is a blade sharpener. I think the blade sharpening idea is going to be fantastic. You know, when I tell people take a look at a skill, a marketable skill in a post-apocalyptic world, I think knife sharpening is going to be one of those skills that people are going to really, most people really don't take care of their knives. And as a matter of fact, that's going to be here in the near future. It's on my list of things I'm doing. I'm doing these 1-minute prepping tips. Today I did have a good survival knife. And so at some point in the future, I'm going to say talking about care and maintenance of your knives. And so Holly wants to know what the brand is of this. It's called, oh gosh, it doesn't have a brand on it. Let me see here. I think I've got the, there we go. Here's the link for it on Amazon. And it's called Candle Lifelong Burning Emergency Candle, and it's 115 hours. They come in packages of 8, and then I found 2 of them. I think it's 8. God, let me just a minute. Let me check here. I may be speaking out of my popo. I didn't bring it up. But anyhow, I think it's a package of 4. They come 4 to a package for like $24. So it's about $6 per candle. But that's a great deal. Then I should survive for a very long time, cats and prepping. Let me see. During Hurricane Sandy, we used solar string lights at night. Great. And put them outside during the day, of course, to charge. What a great idea. Now, that won't work if we're bunkered up in a post-apocalyptic nuclear fallout scenario, which is basically the main topic we're talking about. But any other event other than nuclear fallout, I would say that is a superior idea. If you get the opportunity to find solar-powered lighting, that's one thing that Sokol Begovic talks about, is that solar-powered lighting was very important in Bosnia during the war. So yes, very good idea. Thank you for reminding us of that, Holly. I appreciate that. Where am I? Okay. Wonder Mill uses about 1,250 watts. Okay, so David answered yes. He uses the Blue Eddy solar system and power bank, and he said that right now it's about $198 on Amazon. Now remember, if you spend more than $50 at one time on Amazon, I forget the name of the financing system that they use, but you can pay that off over 6 months with no interest. So that would be somewhere around, I'm going to guess off the top of my mind, about $35 a payment for 6 months, and that might be affordable if you want to get a small portable power bank. I don't think that doesn't include the solar cells, does it, David? I don't think so. I think that's just the power bank itself. Yeah, David did an unboxing video of his power bank here. Gosh, that was only about a week or 2 ago. Oh, wow, they've gone up. Okay. Yeah, so 6 for $46 is what Cats and Prepping is saying. I bought mine for, I think it was 24 for 4. Okay, anything else? Golly, I can't believe we got so much covered in under an hour. What other questions do you have, or what else do you want to share? I know that there's a lot of people in here who have probably done a lot of reading on it and have some other things that we'd like to discuss, or some experience they have on things that they might consider. You can get those wicks on Amazon. I got mine today at Michael's. I had to meet with my bookkeeper for my business and give her all my receipts for the last, gosh, I only give her receipts about every 3 or 4 months. But while I was there, we met in front of Michael's, and I just ran inside and picked up 24 more wicks. You can get the longer wicks. I'm down to where I have these little, this is what I was drinking my eggnog in earlier this evening, but most of my candles are going to be in candle sizes about this size. I don't think I have one. I showed you one that I melted here a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of nights ago. So then to add the solar panel to what David's talking about would be about $225 more. And I believe that's a 100-watt solar panel, probably. I just watched a video of his today. Now, I don't know whether he's building it or he just went to inspect it or it's an affiliate or what, but he was somewhere in Europe and it was $1 million bunker with an underground firing range and just unbelievable. And it was something else. And we say that typically, Izzy, just hold your horses for about 5 minutes, okay? And I'll let you go outside, okay? So the little bitty Chihuahua, the 15-year-old one that's a teacup, she can no longer get up down the stairs on the couch, and she's letting me know that she needs to go outside. So usually she goes at 8. And she was good tonight, didn't go at 8. She's wanting to go at 9. But anyhow, it all depends on several different factors. That's why it's essential you have one of these, okay? So it depends on, remember when we talk about nuclear fallout, there's 3 critical factors: time, distance, and shielding that protect you. So it depends upon which radioactive material they use for the fissive or fusive material. Some of them have longer, some of them have shorter half-lives, which is what we're talking about when radiation declines. The further away you are, okay, then of course it's going to take more time for that to get to you. So it will have reduced in power by the time it gets to you. So if you're pretty far away from where the blast was, you're way downwind, you may not have to stay for the full 2 weeks. It depends upon the dosage of the explosive device. And so there's so many factors. We were told back in the 60s, plan on 2 weeks. And that was going to be the worst case scenario. Okay. So if you watch the movie Jericho, basically they stayed underground for 72 hours, I think it was, when they collapsed that mine and they were inside. And that was based off of their radiation detection levels as well. So Holly Ivins watched the same thing today. His $1 million bunker. That's great. Yeah. Now that's another. Thank you, Fiaxorus. That brings up another really great idea, and that is on a lot of Jeeps, pickup trucks, farm implements. If you have a full tank, they have what's called a PTO, or power takeoff, and so that is where you can plug a shaft basically into the shaft of your engine, and that's going to rotate, and that's going to power, especially on tractors, it's going to power combines and rakes and mowers and all kinds of different equipment. Okay, so you're using the torque, the rotation of your engine to power something. Now you can use that same power takeoff to power an auxiliary power unit, an APU. And that is basically a generator. So what you're doing is you're taking the combustible internal combustion engine to run a shaft. That shaft is turning a generator, and that generator is then producing the electricity. Just remember, that's going to be direct current electricity. So, oh wow, great! Thank you, Fragoat. Did you look? I am assuming you're looking at them. So if you're looking at them, how many amp hours do they, when they're charged up, how many amp hours do they carry as far as a charge? Let me get into my banners here, the things that I'm recommending. So this is the 100,000 milliamp hour hand crank radio, flashlight, USB charger, the whole bit. It's also got solar charging, battery, the whole thing. I will put that in the show notes down below so that you can look at that if you want to. Here is the 3 candle. No, I'm sorry. This is the this one here, the link for it on Amazon. And then this is the portable power charger bank. That's this one here. Where did I put it? Oh, this one here. That's the 50,000 milliamp hour power bank. I have two of them, a black one and a white one, so that I can know which one I'm charging and which one I'm using. And then I also put in a link for the UCO 3-candle candelier. And then you can also, they have 3 different types of candles for this. So they have the paraffin, which you see here, which is a 9-hour candle. They have the, let me remember if I can remember how we pull, oh, there we go. Then they have the beeswax candle, okay? So the beeswax candle burns for 12 hours. And then they also have a citronella candle that you can use if you're concerned about insects. So all 3 of those are right there. You go to the UCO link here. That'll take you to the candle. It'll say if people who have bought this have also bought in the past these other things. Take a look at those as well. So let's take a look at comments, and then we'll finish this up. Now we're over an hour. Yes, and I've also seen them used to power sawmills, portable sawmills, and portable what do you call them? Wood chippers. There's all kinds of things you can get for them. Thanks, Devil Dog, for hanging as long as you did. We're going to close it up. You aren't going to miss anything because we're going to get good at closing now. So do me a favor, y'all. If you like it, thumbs up. Don't forget, if you want to, you can share it. If you think it's valuable information you might want your friends to know, I appreciate if you share it. I also appreciate it if after it comes back and after I get all the links and everything put into it tomorrow morning, if you would just come back and view it and put a comment in. That's where we make the money, is when you come back and review it or let it run and put a comment there. So and remember that when I get my money from YouTube, 30% County Food Bank, 30% of it goes to St. Vincent de Paul, so that we can help distressed neighbors with rent, power bills, electric bills, food banks, all kinds of different things. But we help our neighbors who are financially at need, and that's increasing as this economy changes. 30% goes basically for awards and gifts and things for you and for things for me to show on the channel. And then 10% just goes for maintenance and every once in a while, maybe a bottle of water. So anyhow, that's how 95 watt hours. Wow, that's fantastic. Fraggle out. That is a really good deal. Okay, so basically when we say 95 watt hours, if you have a 100 watt bulb, it will burn that for 95% of 1 hour, which is going to be somewhere in the vicinity of 55 minutes. Okay, 52 to 55 minutes, if I'm doing the math in my mind correctly. Okay, so we'll go to Numbers chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. The Lord said, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. Next week, what are we discussing? Where's my book? I had it. I put it down. There it is. Got all this stuff all around me that I got to put up now. So next week, we're going to be discussing chapter 12, shelter sanitation, one of my favorite things to discuss because nobody else wants to talk about poop. But we'll talk about shelter sanitation and how you're going to keep yourself from getting any kind of disease. That also includes preventive medicine. And then chapter 13 is going to be surviving without doctors. So basically a little bit of medicine. So that's next week. Hope to see you all. And gosh, thank you for being here. Remember, we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. We have to be nice, kind, polite to each other, because that's the only way we're going to rebuild a society that's going to be even better than what we have now. Take care, everybody. Thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate it. What fantastic comments and sharing in the comments this evening. Thank you to all of you who participated. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Stay safe. Happy Thanksgiving. And don't forget, find something that you can really say, I am truly thankful for. And you know what? I had a conversation today with my bookkeeper. She's a U.S. citizen, immigrated from England, and she started crying. And I said, you know what I'm thankful for? I could have been born anywhere in the world, and I was born here. Not only was I born in the U.S., I was born here in Texas. Okay, so that's what I'm thankful for: Texas and the U.S. Take care, everybody. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.